Hola, this is a grammar instructional video for present tense verb phrases in Spanish. Okay, in order to do these well, there is some background information that students have to know, things we've previously covered in the course. 5 things here to know overall, some new and some review. You'll need to know the subject pronouns, yo, tú, él, ella, nosotros, ustedes, ellos, ellas. You'll need to know the vocabulary for verb phrases. That part is new. You'll need to know any connecting words that will be used in the verb phrase. And the fourth thing you'll need to know is the present tense conjugations. We practiced that a lot in the first marking period, so that part will be a review, except for a few irregular verbs. And finally, the rule for the second verb, which is quite simple thing to pick up. That will be brand new. And putting these things together, we'll have a present tense verb phrase. What are present tense verb phrases? Well, the present tense is basically just stating a fact, general information such as he runs in the park every day. They study at the library frequently. A present tense verb phrase would have 2 verbs instead of just 1. So he needs to run in the park every day. They like to study at the library. So want to do something, have to do something, can do something, hate to do something, someone is going to do something. These are all forms of present tense verb phrases. In my course, I teach 10 different ones, and I split them up into 2 groups of 5. Okay, to run through a quick review here of the material you need to know, you should, of course, have this entire chart committed to memory. These are the subject pronouns. This is not new, but if you mess up any of these, it will create problems with writing the sentences with the present tense verb phrases. Okay, the next step is to actually figure out how to start the verb phrase, and that is going to involve some new vocabulary. We're looking at the verbs ir, deber, necesitar, odiar, and tratar. Of these 5, we've only seen one of them before, and we worked with it a little bit. Ir, to go, meaning to move from one location to another. However, in a verb phrase, ir is used to indicate the future. Someone is going to talk. Someone is going to study. Someone is going to watch TV. Deber is should. Necesitar, someone needs to do something. Odiar, somebody hates to do something. And tratar, somebody tries to do something. And just to clarify, in order for this to be a present tense verb phrase, there must be a verb after these first verbs. You're going to have 2 verbs in the sentence. If you say, we need chocolate, that is not a verb phrase. That is a statement in the present tense. It is present tense, using need. In order to have a verb phrase, we would need 2 verbs. So it would be, we need to do something. That is the current grammar we are working with. We are not working on sentences where we just state, I hate grammar, for example, because that would not be a verb phrase. We would need, I hate to memorize grammar. Now that's a verb phrase. So this is the first chart of 5 that students will be working with, and an early step is to commit the word order and the new verbs to memory. The second list we'll be looking at is tener, someone has to do something. Querer, someone wants to do something. Poder, someone can do something or someone is able to do something. Gustar, someone likes to do something. And encantar, someone loves to do something. And again, it will be the same concept. It is not a present tense verb phrase unless the first verb is done in the present tense and there is a second verb. Otherwise, we could just say things like, I want more money. That is not a verb phrase. I want to earn more money. That is a verb phrase. So once again, that vocab will need to be committed to memory. Once you have the vocab aspect down, we need to start looking at the grammar. Since these are present tense verb phrases, they are using the present tense, which is something we worked extensively with before. And here's a quick little review of how to do it. You're going to drop the AR, ER, or IR on the verb, such as from necesitar, drop that AR, deber, drop that ER, and then you're going to add the ending that is appropriate for whomever you are talking or writing about. All of this is a review. Make sure you practice that if you've forgotten it a bit. Okay, those studying those rules will cover you for 4 out of 10 of the verb phrases, because unfortunately, the verbs used in present tense verb phrases in Spanish are extremely irregular. Only 4 of them actually follow the rules. So on the previous page there, if you know those endings, you'll be able to do deber, which is should, correctly. You'll be able to do necesitar, to need to do something correctly. Odiar, to hate to do something. And tratar, to try to do something. You'll be able to do those correctly based on your prior knowledge. For example, ellos odiar, drop the AR. What is the ending for ellos? It's an AN. Ellos odian nadar. They hate to swim. Okay, this ending, this conjugating is something we've done before, and many students eventually got it under control and did well with it. Another little tidbit before we move on is, unlike in English where the vast majority of these have connecting words, such as we need to run, they hate to talk, I try to explain, and you constantly have the connecting word to. In Spanish, it's not quite as consistent. You can see that many of these will not have a connecting word, and then this one does, and it's the word day. Okay, in English, we do have a little inconsistency. We don't say we should to study. We just say we should study. We don't say I can to drive. I say I can drive. But really, it's to or it's nothing on those brief exceptions. Okay, here are the other 6, and they are all irregular. Of these 6, we have already looked at 2 of these irregular forms in other types of sentences, and that was ir and tener. So students are at least a little bit familiar with voy, vas, va, vamos, van, the forms of ir, and tengo, tienes, tiene, tenemos, tienen, the forms of tener. What does it mean to be irregular? It simply means that the information on the previous slide does not work 100% on these verbs, so you need to look at it separately and commit it to memory. You can see that obviously the ir, drop the IR and add the ending. How did we get to voy? How on earth does it start with a V if the original word starts with an I? That's irregular. There's just random things that will break the rules, and they have to be studied separately. There's no trick to learning it besides putting in the time on it. Whereas tener, tengo looks, so at least it starts with the same letter, but it does have some differences. There's a G, there's an IE, and if you followed the rules directly, you would get many of these wrong. The other 4 here are irregulars we have not seen before. Querer, to want to do something, also has this IE in there. It's similar to tener with that. Poder has a UE instead of the O that otherwise would have been in there if you followed the rules. And gustar and encantar are strange. They don't really conjugate all the way through. It's always gusta. It's always encanta, regardless of who loves something or who likes something. And that actually makes it a little easier. You're not having to change the verb all the time. But the challenging part is they use different pronouns than what you saw in the first review slide there. Me, te, le, nos, and les are used, and we are unfamiliar with that. So this is all some new information. We'll be working on this, and I'll be spending quite a bit of time on it. Okay, so basically to look at the sentences, students should be able to read them. We should be able to get a sentence like, nosotros vamos a bailar, and I'll expect students to be able to translate this in English. We are going to dance. That is a present. That verb phrase is about the future. We would get something like, ellos deben practicar el vocabulario. Okay. Here's where your vocabulary study comes in. This is really the crux of the sentence, the most important part. They what practice? They should practice the vocab. Okay, students sometimes focus so much on the grammar they forget they need to go over the meaning of the words. We have 10 different verb phrases. If students do not study the vocabulary here and guess on what deber means, they could have a 10% chance of getting it correct. They might say they like to practice, they want to practice, they can practice, they have to practice, they're going to practice, etc. We need to know that that one is they should practice. That would be a full point off. First and foremost, it's the vocabulary. And also, we could do this in a variety of writing formats. One early on form could be a relatively simple fill in the blank. It would look like this. Okay, and students here would need to show me that they know how the grammar works. So this sentence is going to end up saying, I try to pass tests. Okay, what happens to the first verb? These are the grammar rules we already looked at in the review. The first verb always is conjugated, so this has to change. We drop that AR. What is the ending for yo? It's O, trato. That's something students have to know. Trato de, okay, we've got a second verb here. It's a verb phrase. There will always be two verbs. What happens to the second verb? It never changes. The first verb always changes. The second verb never does. So students would prove that simply by rewriting it. And the sentence you would have is yo trato de pasar los exámenes. That's a relatively simple format, just filling in the blank. A harder one would be including vocab by making students translate the full sentence. For example, Miriam can speak French. Okay, students would need to know, oh, what's can? Okay, can is poder, but if you write poder, that's incorrect because it's Miriam to be able to. We need to conjugate the first verb always, and it's irregular. It's a UE verb. Miriam puede. Then what's that second verb? To speak, that's hablar. Do we conjugate that one? Do we make it habla? Do we drop that AR, put on the correct ending? No, we do not. The second verb never changes. Puede hablar francés. Okay, this is a bit more complex than our previous verb grammar. Hope this little overview helped and give parents and students an idea on what the meaning of this is and how to go about working on it.